The meeting of the Majority Minority Redistricting Subcommittee is called to order. I'm just going to do a roll call. Adrian Kissy, not present. Constance Graves. Kashana Cody Owens. Cody.
Here.
Larry Walden.
Here.
Donna Bullock.
Here.
Nasim Ramdani.
Here.
Sam Mather.
Yes. Excuse me.
Pretty Mather.
Yes.
Justine McCarthy.
Here.
Jeffrey Weiss.
I'm present on the call.
Nick Mazza.
Here.
Okay, our first agenda item is approval of the last minute meetings. That was sent out to everybody. Were there any issues? And if not, can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, Jeffrey, we allowed time on the agenda for you to talk to us about anything you might want to talk to us about. Do you have anything?
Sure, I'll update everybody on where we stand with our racial voting analysis report. Yesterday, the chair, the mappers, our expert, Dr. Lisa Handley, and Marissa Zanfordino from New York Law School and I were on a phone call to this, and also with the board of the Albany County Board of Elections, had a conversation about assembling the database necessary for Dr. Handley to be able to do her analysis. So we are probably about a week away from having the mappers put together the census data with the election returns in a GIS, geographic mapping format, so that what Dr. Handley will then do, once she also finds out the races of the candidates who, since 2015, whether for a primary or a general election, were in situations where a Black, Hispanic, or Asian American candidate ran against a white candidate. And then by applying various kinds of regression analyses to all of the elections that took place, she'll be able to determine the levels of racially polarized voting that might still exist. And then what she would do is, moving forward, is simulate, or take the model maps and determine what if there is racially polarized voting, and if the Voting Rights Act requires the maintenance or creation of an effective majority minority district, what the percentage minority voting age population needs to be for that specific district. So right now, for argument's sake, she'd be able to take the current Albany County Legislature map and determine if there's still a level of polarized voting in the present districts. And if there is a certain level of polarized voting, we need to maintain those districts. Once she has the data, and we're hoping that she'll have the dating from the mappers by next Wednesday or Thursday, and maybe with the day slippage, we're saying a week. It would probably take her into the following week to get her analysis done. Once we have that information, we'll know exactly what the law requires. And then there'll be a balancing act that as you take in testimony and comments from the public who will be talking about communities of interest, we're gonna have to do a balancing act to make sure that the Voting Rights Act requirements are adhered to or followed, but that we could also, to the best ability, see how to match up community of interest concerns with the Voting Rights Act concerns. Hopefully they'll coincide, but those are the basic next steps. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, if no one has questions, we can move on to the mapping discussion.
All right. So from the mapping perspective, until we get Lisa Handy's report, what we have done is we have looked at the way your current districts are and what the population currently is. And we are trying to develop a plan where we can maximize the minority districts. So yesterday, we also got information about the state takes out a certain data about incarcerated people. So we will adjust that population and draw the maps accordingly. Now, we have done a preliminary map. If you want, we can share that with you right now. But once again, it is preliminary. So we can, Preeti, you want to show that map? So we'll have Preeti go ahead and share that map with you all.
I'll be happy to show it to you. Kashana, can I get permission to share my screen, please?
Yep, you're all set.
Since we are both in the same rooms, there may be some feedback, but I'm going to turn my speaker off. Go ahead, Preeti.
Okay, this is something that I had shared with you before. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. This is something that I had shared with you before. And this is where the minorities are, and you can see them in different colors here. So this is a map that we created and we shared with you last week, where we had where the minorities are located by block. And we made changes to it based on our conversation yesterday with Jeff and with Marie and with Dr. Handley. So we got the updated population, which is the incarcerated population, which the state adjusts. And based on that, we found that the districts which are majority minority districts, which is District 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So here we have a list of the districts, and based on the population that we got yesterday, District 1, and the ideal population, I believe, was 8105, And District 1 is short of 97 people, which is a deviation of 1.20%. District 2 has 532 people short, and here the coloring scheme that you see is green means it's short and red means it's more as compared to the ideal population. So the task at hand is that our districts, which are currently majority minority districts, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. They are short of people. And what we need to do is, and 6 is the only one which is like has 15 more. So 6 seems to be okay, but 1, 2, 3, 4, we need to add people and we need to make sure that we are able to maintain that majority minority status. Okay. So with this, I'm going to stop sharing this and quickly show you how we have been able to adjust these. And another thing that I thought was interesting that I wanted to share with you is while we know that there are these districts, it seems like, and what you're seeing on the left is just, you're seeing yellow, which is non-Hispanic white majority. And blue that you're seeing is non-Hispanic Black majority. So what we thought was that since the commission's goal is to look at minorities, we said, why don't we look at just minorities as a whole rather than just looking at non-Hispanic Black or Hispanic or anything like that. So when we did that, and if you look at it on the right, there may be a possibility if we just look at minorities as a whole, which includes Hispanic, which includes Asian, which includes all the other, which is everyone who's non-Hispanic, who's not non-Hispanic white, there may be a possibility of a District 7. But like I said, it is 620 short. So we are looking at how to work with these districts so that we can continue to maintain them. And I thought I just put in District 7 here because I thought it was interesting that if you add up all the minorities, there might be a possibility. But let me show you the map and show you how we were able to do some minor adjustments and still be able to keep at least 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Okay. So I'm going to end this and share the application. Okay, let me stop this share and let me share this. And here, let me show you, let me turn off a few things so it's not confusing. Okay. These are the districts the way they are, and they are just simply color coded by just a different color. So I'm going to quickly show you. And this is all very fresh that you're seeing because just yesterday afternoon, we were told that we should not be using the Public Law 94-171 data, which is published by the Bureau of Census. And instead, we are supposed to use the state adjusted data. So we incorporated that into the model. And I'm going to. So this is just, like I said, it's very preliminary. And so what we did was we were able to make these minor changes that you're seeing. So the black line is what it currently is. and the red line is the changes that we are proposing. So in District 3, we are proposing that we can go in here and pick up some area. And in 4, we are proposing that we can pick some from here. And District 6, we did not do much to it because it was fine. And 2, you can see how we were able to make some minor changes here. 3, I already showed you, we picked here. 2, we picked this change. Then 4, we went down into District 13 and were able to pick some. And where is 5? I already, yeah, 5 is not one of the majority districts. So this is what we were able to do. And let me show you the numbers. And this is a preliminary plan. So if you look at District 1, it's only 85 people more. And if you look at the non-Hispanic white population is 22%, which means that our majority minority population is 77%. And it includes all the other races. It apparently has a 17% Hispanic population. So when we add it all up, if we just look at minority, it's 77%. But if we look at non-Hispanic Black population, then this is where we are sitting at, 46%. So that is the change that we were able to do in District 1. But keep in mind, District 1 was only 97 people short. So District 2 was the one that really needed to gain. So in District 2, so we were able to bring it to almost up to the par ideal population. And if you look at non-Hispanic white population, it's 22%. And if you look at the Black population, non-Hispanic Black, so this one is clearly a non-Hispanic Black majority district. So we look at District 3 and see how we have been able to balance it out. Only 36 people short of the ideal population, and we were able to bring it to 53%. So clearly a non-Hispanic Black majority district. The same with District 4. It was short, 495 people short. We were able to adjust it. And now District 5, we did not really bother with because it's clearly a non-Hispanic majority district. District 6, we made some changes, some minor changes, and it's clearly, it's a plurality, non-Hispanic Black plurality district. But if you look at minorities, then we have a 73% minority population. And then the 7th district that I've been talking about, we balanced it out. And this one is something that we can look at. And here, this is still, it may not be a majority minority district like we initially thought, but it had 620 people short. So when we tried to balance it out, it's not that. So I'm just going to show you, okay, I'm just going to show the majority. So if we look at now this, okay. So now with the new balances, we are able to keep the current majority minority districts. So this is the preliminary plan 1 that Sam had talked about. So what I can do is I can create a map and send it to you all so you can look at the changes, and this may be a starting point where we could talk to the community and see how they feel about what we are just thinking. And this may allow them to think and to come up with ideas on how to include whatever minorities there are. So while I showed you this, let me also turn this off and show you that this is where the minorities are. And the color coding is wherever you see a red block, it's a Hispanic majority. Wherever you see yellow, that is a non-Hispanic white majority by block. And wherever you see blue, that is a non-Hispanic black. And where you see green, that is non-Hispanic Asian. So this is how the map looks. And you can see that how we went up and we were able to get the different, and let me see if I can bring the red district back up. So the red one is, how we went up to pick up some minorities there. And you can see that we have done very minor changes, but keeping our goal in mind, we kept the majority minority districts. So this is a preliminary plan that I wanted to share with you.
So when you send us the map, is it gonna have more detail?
It's going to have streets and it's going to have areas that people could relate. Yeah.
Okay.
You can zoom into.
Yeah, and I'll give you a large size map that where people can actually zoom in.
Okay. Jeff, do you have any feedback?
Yeah, I actually can't see the map, so I'll want to look at it as soon as possible. But one of the things that the racial block voting analysis will tell us is probably looking at the Black population alone, whether those districts will continue to elect the Black community preferred candidates. Because the Voting Rights Act only uses single race determinations when you figure out if there's an effective district or not. But in Albany County, looking back to the Pope decision, Judge Kahn did talk about multiracial coalitions. So this is basically good news that the populations can be maintained, but I'll have to look at the map when I'm able to see it visually. But it sounds good.
And if I may just say, the District 1 and District 6 in this plan that we have are plurality, non-Hispanic Black plurality, which is, and we are looking at total population. So 46% non-Hispanic Black population and 47% in 6, while the others are clearly majority non-Hispanic Black.
I would just add on the positive side that since all have this minority district,
Jeff, you're breaking up.
Okay.
Jeff, your voice is breaking up.
Okay.
Jeff?
Yeah, I don't think my voice is transmitting, so I'll
Oh, it
just
is
listen.
now. It is
There
now.
are now.
It's better now? Okay. What I was saying is that because there are already existing minority districts that are electing minority community preferred candidates, that moving forward in the new plan, the districts are okay to have just a plurality, upper 40% numbers. So this is all very positive, and Dr. Hanley's analysis hopefully will bear out that we can maintain a minority district with, let's say, 46 or 48% plurality Black population. I also wanted to ask, because you've been talking about the prison adjusted numbers, does everybody understand what that means? Or would you like me just to explain very quickly what we're talking about?
Yeah, that would be helpful, Jeff.
Okay, the
Yeah.
Census Bureau counts incarcerated individuals at their prison locations. And despite efforts to change that policy and count incarcerated persons at their homes prior to incarceration, the Census Bureau decided not to do that. Now, in 2010, New York State enacted a law that reallocates incarcerated persons back to their homes of record prior to incarceration. And we had a situation where in places like Erie County, in the Southern Tier, in Clinton County with large prisons, that you'd find 1,000 or 3,000 incarcerated persons filling out legislative districts where the people really were not living there. So the legislature, in the law passed in 2010, reallocated any incarcerated person who has a known home address prior to incarceration, that they be reassigned to the census block where they came from and where they are generally expected to return to once they're released. So in practice, what that means is that if you are a state incarcerated person, let's say at Dannemora, but you live in Albany County, you are taken out of the Clinton County count and you are put back into the census block in Albany County where you lived before incarceration. And then if there were any, I don't think there are any state prison facilities in Albany County, but if there are any, then prisoners who lived elsewhere in the state would be subtracted from the Albany County numbers. And for every prisoner who did not have any address at all, they were simply dropped from the redistricting data. So what we're talking about here is that the state legislature released data in September of last year that reallocates the prisoners. They take basically the Census Bureau, what they call the PL 94-171 report, and that's the census data by block, by race, and by age and ethnicity that's used for redistricting. And the state legislature simply added the prisoner adjustment numbers to it. So those are the numbers that counties and cities are required to use for their redistrictings.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, I'm assuming that the reason they want to count the prison population is to help determine or to help decide if a district, helping to count and making a district a majority district. However, if the inmates can't vote, how does that help?
Well, it's not a matter of voting, it's a matter of the equal population for the district. So although the incarcerated persons can't vote while they're in prison, at least their presence, their bodies, the fact that they exist is acknowledged in the numbers that are used to draw the districts back home where they used to live. It's a civil rights fairness issue.
It helps determine, it helps in deciding or helps in making a minority district. Counting the inmates, basically the Black inmates, help to make that district a minority district, okay?
Right.
But then when come time to elect a minority candidate, I don't see how that helps them.
Well, it helps the district be created. It doesn't impact the election, as you're saying. You are correct that they can't vote, but their presence is reflected in the fact that the district can be created.
Okay, so it's more about creating the district than it is about helping to elect a minority candidate.
Right, but you know, but it does help elect a minority candidate in the sense that their numbers are added to the base to make that district possible.
Okay.
Donna, you have a comment?
Yes, if you know anything about the prison population or prisons in New York State, most of the prisons are in small rural communities.
Right.
And those communities tend to be primarily white communities. When you look at the prison population and you look at the number of minorities in prison, they're in prison in upstate places, you know, where there is a very small, if any, minority population. So what you're really looking at is where they're domiciled, okay, prior to going to prison. So if you count them where they're incarcerated, that helps that predominantly white, you know, community in terms of numbers. But if you look at where they were prior to going into prison, you'll see that it's generally a community that was primarily Black. So it, as you know, as Jeffrey said, it does help in terms of creating the minority or the majority district, because a lot of times people who are incarcerated, one of the biggest complaints were family couldn't come visit because they were so far from home, and there's nowhere to get there, way to get there if you don't have a car. So if you've got 4,000 African Americans in Dannemora, okay, instead of them being assigned to that county, they're assigned to their county of residence prior to incarceration. So it does help.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else on that, we can move to the next item. Kashani, can you take over the agenda?
Sure. Let's see. So next on the agenda, we have reviewing open action items, which I believe would be the work plan. So I can pull that up. Sorry, just going in SharePoint. Sharing my screen. In terms of open action items, I know last week we discussed a lot regarding the community engagement plan, just making sure everybody had a chance to go into the file and make sure that we had all spots filled in. Let's see. So I guess going through, I may maybe just call on each of us. Larry, like, do you have any updates on your areas?
No, not really. I'm still looking. The the areas that I can identify as possible locations for the hearings, so far they've been, because I live in the South End, they've been here in the South End. I have to venture up to Arbor Hill and those places. I used to know places, but I'm not sure. So I have to delve into trying to get locations in areas outside of where I am.
Okay.
So I'll reach out and see if I can't find some locations. So far, I've looked into, like I know we can get the African American Culture Center, and I've talked to the folks, and they're going to get back to me with Albany Housing Authority. And then I was going to go up and talk to the folks at Trinity, but those are all right here in the South End.
Yep.
I don't know locations like in Arbor Hill and the other minority. I'm assuming we are looking to have a hearing in at least each of the minority districts.
A public meeting or a public hearing?
Either one, in each of the
Yeah.
minority, a public hearing, especially if we're talking about a face-to-face. We want to have one in each of the minority.
So
Yep. Go ahead, Marie.
as part of that, Nicole Chambers is also identifying venues for us because they're also going to be providing the technical support. So I just want to say that anybody that's looking at identifying places where we can have meetings, we need access to venues, but we also need access to people. So if you're talking to a church about us doing something there, it's not just access to the church, but it's also access to the people and the ability to invite other people to come in.
Yeah.
Donna, your hand is raised.
I'm clear on access, because I know at one point we had talked about being able to maybe go into churches and address that congregation and explain what the committee is about, what we're trying to do, but also looking for venues to maybe have some of these small meetings that we were talking about. So it's like a twofold thing. One, trying to get before congregations possibly to explain the committee and the work of the committee. And the second part is to see if we can also find venues for small meetings. Okay, all right. Okay. So right now I have one meeting set up with one church, and I'm in the process of setting up a second meeting with another church to come in and address the congregation, but also to ask if they would be a venue for a small meeting.
Okay, excellent.
So myself, I have asked one church if we can have small meetings or have public hearings, and so they're working on that. We just need the dates availability for the subcommittee.
And I would suggest if we're trying to find, if we're trying to have meetings in each of the potential districts, it might be helpful if we identify them by not just by number, but have a better understanding of what comprises that district, and then maybe we could look at potential sites in each of the districts.
Yep. So like the
Right now,
neighborhood, the
maps
streets.
are really small. I really can't tell what the streets are, but if we could, however we want to categorize them or identify them, and then we could look for specific venues in each of the districts.
I want to just say, oh, okay. Mount Calvary is also a spot that we can come in and just talk, and it's possible,
you can possibly use it as a meeting site.
Okay.
Right now, a lot of the churches are still doing their meetings, I mean, their, on services online. So maybe we can reach out to some of those and say, while you're doing your service online, we can
You
piggyback
could
on that.
still, yeah, even if they're doing online services, you could still go because there's generally, even when I go to Macedonia, and even when we were totally online, there was still opportunities for people to go in if, to make an announcement or something like that. We're hybrid right now. So we do online
Yes.
and in person.
Yeah, I think most
Yeah.
of them are still are that way.
So my church is Wilborn Temple, and so we do have space for 100 people. So it depends on, although I will like we're at the Empire State Plaza over in that area. So I'm really not familiar with, how many minorities or the district or any of that. I guess that would have to be worked out.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say right now that in terms of timeframes, our timeframes are really short right now. And so this work really needs to be aggressively advanced. If something goes out for review, you need to aggressively review it and get back with comments, because we don't have the luxury anymore of waiting to next week's meeting to figure out if somebody had comments about something. If you get something to review, there needs to be some response to it, even if that response to it is that you looked at it and you don't have any comments. But right now, there's stuff that's going out for review where there's like limited responses to it. It's like it needs to be responded to. And also, we're going to need to add an additional time to meet, because we're going to have to work on putting these public meetings and hearings together. And we can't wait a week to do the work. So I was thinking about Wednesday evening as a possibility. It seems.
What time?
So Marie, I don't know if I sent out a doodle poll to everybody so that we can get everyone's availability from now until the end of May. So everybody will have to, you'll see the link. I sent it like right before this meeting, but we'll be able to see when everybody's available every day. I don't know if that will help with this, but it's at least, I blocked out certain times and asked everyone to just click which days they are available from now until the end of May.
Okay, did you just send it? Because I don't think I saw that.
I
Okay.
sent it
She
before
said
this
just
meeting.
before the meeting.
Yeah, I just put it, I tried to find doodle poll, like one that was free, because we don't have meeting poll inside of our Outlook. So I used doodle poll this morning.
Are they at a certain time of the day mostly? Or
I
just the
put them,
day?
yep. I put them so that it would be almost like even the public meeting and public hearing timeframes too, just so that just in
Okay.
case we want to
Late
do.
afternoon,
Yep.
early evening, okay.
So I asked for that to be completed this weekend, if everyone can have that completed. I put like till Monday, end of day. And then Marie, I can share that back out to the group so that we have everybody's availability.
Okay, that would be great. Also, Justine is gonna be contacting people to like monitor progress on the work plan. As an additional check-in with people to see how they're progressing with their items. As we complete stuff, we're gonna mark it as complete. Kashana and I have been looking at stuff to see where deadlines need to be added. Some of the items are ongoing items, but we're at the end of March now. We have April and May to really get the bulk of this work done. And the only way that it's gonna get done is there has to be all hands on deck. And we need to stay actively engaged. We can't go from one week to the next week without checking in. So I asked Justine to do check-ins with everybody on where they are with their assignments and to generate just some bullets to help all of us have a sense of where we are. The work plan is a live document. Everybody should be regularly accessing it. Kashana, there is the ability to put comments in the work plan, right?
Yep. Yep.
So you can also put comments in there, but we have to really view it as a living document. Any comments to that?
No, the only thing I would suggest is like when I'm looking at the work plan and there's situations where there are one or more individuals assigned to a particular task. Couldn't we, as like the one develop public meeting outline, the three of us could set aside a time just for the three of us to meet?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be fine. And so for example,
To complete, so
yeah, that would be fine. For example, in that case, Kashana developed the outline and she sent it out to us. I gave her some feedback. We could probably do like a Zoom meeting, or we could do a conference call, just the three of us to finalize that. But so I mean, that would be good, but I mean, my point is that everybody needs to exercise initiative and not wait for somebody to come and tell them to speak about something or to do something. The luxury of that is no longer here. So everybody needs to take professional responsibility for progressing their assignments. So
Great.
we were going through the work plan.
Yeah, I just was gonna say, like, so as much as we were just like the front end of this was talking about where we're gonna hold meetings or who we can speak to, on the back end, Marie, myself, Donna, Nassim, we all have like deliverables to make sure you have all the materials that are needed to present. So like Marie said, I did start drafting and Marie's right, we're gonna have a lot of things probably flying at everyone. Donna, I do like the idea of meeting because I actually, even after I created the outline, I was like, I actually have questions more than I have. I put a draft together, but I'm like, wait a minute, let's really think about how this will look. And what materials, like you'll notice I put supplies, like what will we need to facilitate all these meetings to make sure people are engaged. One thing that came to mind when I was writing it, which is why I said, oh, that's a really good idea to pull together, is if we want people to learn how to do the maps themselves or play around with the maps, how will they do that? Will they use their phone? Will we have access to a computer lab? Should we print them, laminate them, so they can do it themselves. Like, so things like that are starting to come to mind of like, when we're really facilitating these meetings, how will we get people actively engaged in the process too?
Now, and I also think we need to be very clear on what's a meeting and what's a hearing,
Yes.
because I
and
think the
def-
term is being used interchangeably and they're two very different things.
Absolutely. So on the document that I sent you, I actually defined what is a public meeting? And then
Okay.
we should do the same thing for public hearing, because you're right, they are definitely two different things. And there's different rules that apply to each
Mhm,
side.
right, right.
Yep.
Okay.
So not much, I know that Marie, you sent over, like we had a deadline for the survey, like creating the survey. So Marie, I didn't know if you wanted to talk more about that. I know I had a chance to send you feedback. Not sure if you got enough feedback from the rest of the group, but that was one of the things that Marie and I set as a deadline too. I think those were the only ones that were kind of on our list and the Facebook page, but it looks like the commission created the Facebook page, so I crossed that off our list.
Yeah, I didn't get feedback from a lot of people on the survey.
And I apologize. I did look at it. I did not give you any feedback, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, and I know you're out of town, but
I
if
looked at it too,
everybody
and
else
I'm
can look
sorry.
at it and give me some feedback,
All right.
I mean, even if your feedback is that you have nothing to add, at least
Right.
I know you looked at it.
Yeah. I did look at it, so I'll give you feedback.
And the only other thing that I wanted to add with regard to the mapping, so in the last commission meeting, a decision was made that the software tools that are going to be made available to the public are the AppGeo software tools.
Mhm.
And the reasoning for that is because we don't want to convolute the public with different mapping tools, which would just create confusion. So since AppGeo was, they were way out before ArcBridge, they already have their software tools available. That's what's going to be made available to the public. So what adds to that, if we were going to do a forum where we were going to have some ability to map, if it was software based, we would have to learn the AppGeo mapping software. That may not be that realistic given where we are at right now. So we might have to, and Kashana, I think you suggested some alternatives to how the mapping can be done away from actually going into a software. And we might need to look at something like that, because I think it's going to be hard to give people like electronic or computer capability to do it. And so realistically, we're looking at creating that experience in some other non-electronic way.
Mm.
So anyone else have updates or comments or feedback on the work plan? I mean, we can go through it item by item, but that might not be productive.
Well, I've just been adding some neighborhood organizations as I go along. I've been adding them to the list.
Okay.
Okay.
And so those are the ones I have to apologize. I've been a little behind, just overwhelmed, but so I will get on contacting the neighborhood, the community organizations to have public meetings, to have meetings, more meetings.
Okay. I know, we've been working on sending out email copies of the flyer to the
Mhm.
different organizations.
Yes.
There was a mailing that was done, to churches, to libraries, to community organizations as well.
Mhm.
Warren Hamilton of the commission also created a Twitter and a Facebook account. He's posted those flyers on the Facebook account. I think he also put them into Twitter.
Oh, good.
I don't have Twitter and I don't have Facebook, so I haven't gone to look at it yet, but I was conversating a lot back and forth with him yesterday.
Mhm.
I did see the Facebook page and I've been on the Twitter account, but I haven't checked it since those flyers were posted.
Okay, so I think he just posted the flyers either yesterday or day before,
Yeah.
because
Well,
I gave him both the English and the Spanish translation.
okay.
And the flyers that went out in the mail are the ones that have the QR code on it.
Okay. And he had said there was an issue with the QR code.
Yeah, I think he retested it and he was able to access
Make
it.
it okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure why it hadn't been working for him. And I still have copies of flyers if anybody wants any. I know I had given some to Adrian. So if
Mhm.
anybody wants flyers, just let me know and I'll make
Okay.
sure I get them to you.
Yes, I'd love some more. Because Tuesday and Thursday, we will be canvassing the community.
All right, so I have more that I could give you
Okay,
with the QR code on it.
all right. Thank you.
I can use some too, Marie.
Okay, so I'll get some to you as well. So,
Marie, you could probably, I could use a few.
okay,
So I can certainly take them to any meetings.
okay, so I'll reach out to y'all and we'll figure out how best to get them to y'all.
Okay.
Um, oh, the website development is still underway. We've really been going back and forth with Albany County because they're really behind in terms of development. And the most important stuff right now is to be able to give the public access to the mapping software tools and to also be able to better accommodate public submissions. So in terms of IT stuff, it's been a kind of frustrating week where we've been like really pushing back on them a lot. Because there's really been a delay in them getting stuff done. For example, they were supposed to have a prototype this week of a page for the mapping software tool in the public submissions. And now that's pushed into next week. So that part of it has been frustrating because this is stuff that we talked about when we initially met with them the first time, which probably goes back to like January or December.
Wow.
And we ended up getting John Wimple as a business analyst because the requests weren't moving. They weren't really giving them priority. So that's why John Wimple came on board. And now we're still continuing to have issues. So, but now it's at the point where we really need these like public facing tools to be out there. I mean, we've even had media inquiries related to the availability of that stuff.
So with the mapping tools that would be on the website, is that where we would be able to steer people who wanted to try and create their own maps?
Right, there's gonna be a
Would we
mapping
be able
tool.
to steer them to that?
Yes, there'll be a mapping tool and
Okay.
there'll also be a user guide.
Okay.
And so it's a tool that's gonna be made available to them with the awareness that there's a few other like free mapping software tools out there that anybody can use. So like the first map that got submitted to us, they did it in Dave's redistricting. And now there's another one that was also done in Dave's redistricting. So I think there's like 5 or 6 other sites, free sites out there where people can go and draw maps.
Okay.
Marie, one of the items that I had was developing the YouTube or getting familiar with YouTube. And
Yeah, you're gonna need to probably send an email to Patricia, Nick, and John Whipple. Those are the people that can get you up to speed on what that is and how it gets accomplished.
okay,
So it's the YouTube and the Zoom, and it's also a call-in number.
okay.
And if Albany County provides us technical support on that to the extent that I've been discussing with Nicole, it may become less of an issue, but we still should have a sense of it.
All right.
So, Justine. Justine, are you there?
Yeah, I was just making sure you were calling me and not Nassim.
Good
It's so
morning.
close.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm calling you.
Good. I just want to make sure you have what you need to be able to do the check-ins that we had talked about.
Okay.
So are you able to access the SharePoint okay? Because I know
Yep.
Nassim was having some problems.
Yeah, I am now.
Okay. So you have the contact list?
Yep. I should be starting contact Wednesday afternoon. That's my plan right now.
Okay. So that means everybody has a couple of days to to get up to speed.
I mean, if it helps, I can start next week. But I know like you wanted everything like for May, so I was thinking like as soon as possible.
Yeah, it needs to be as soon as possible because we really need to keep everything moving and we just need like we need monitoring and like one point of check-in that can create information and documentation for everybody to know where things are.
Sounds good. Will do.
So I don't have anything else right now. There's a bunch of information that Warren Hamilton put together on PR
Yeah.
stuff that I've been looking at that I'm going to do some editing to. We need to think about whether the next public hearing or one of those public hearings should also be a joint public hearing. So I think definitely at the point where we're pretty close to having what we think we need to have for the MMDs. And we're able to provide something to the larger commission where that can all come together in one map. At that point, I think we do need to do another joint hearing. But also I think I mean, although we're focused on MMDs, we also have some responsibility from hearing from the larger community. So that's another reason for us to do joint hearings. So we really need to give some thought to that. So if nobody else has anything else in this meeting, we're going to be.
I just one thing,
Okay.
just please use my Albany County email address and not my personal email address.
Okay. I think
I
did.
get a ton of personal email and I don't want stuff getting lost in that. So if everyone would just use the Albany County email address, that would be greatly appreciated.
So I think
Like-
your Albany County email address is in MMD redistricting and also in redistricting commission emails. Do you want me to request that it be removed from those? Because that's probably
Please.
where you're getting most of the
Please.
emails.
Yes, yes.
Marie, would you be able to do the same for me? I'm having the same situation go on.
So take your personal email out.
Yes.
Me
Yes.
too, just because I've devoted myself to using Albany County email. So
No, and I have, because of other activities,
Yeah.
I have 3 separate Gmail addresses. One is my personal, 2 are 2 other committees.
mhm.
And even though I'm relearning Outlook because it's been so long since I've used it, I like the fact that this is Outlook. So I don't have to go through Gmail looking for, committee stuff. I can just go to Outlook and the Albany County email address. So
Okay, so hold on a second. So I think if we have nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
so move.
And I need a second.
I second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor, aye.
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 The meeting is adjourned and you can start recording.